Saturday mornings, everything got blown down. And then about once a month, on a Saturday, you'd be here almost all day. You would blow up tops. Here they got the drop ceiling. But out here, see up in there, the way we used to blow that out so dust wouldn't get up on top of any of those rafters and the pipes and what have you.
It's interesting, in class we were talking about, some of the ladies were talking about how their moms worked in the factories and that the inhalation was an issue because of all of the dust, and that some of them actually developed, like, disease like lung cancer or lung issues because of it.
Well, depending
on
on the factory, not here.
It all not here. So it all depends back then what they were working on and what type of fabrics, or mainly a lot of them wasn't with clothing per se. Some of the plastic places have problems that way and all that. Even though it doesn't sound that way, the record companies, there was three or four making records or what have you. In fact, they had a major problem there and all that. Then they even had a chemical spill. If you, I don't know whether you're from the area, you get down to Whitehorse Pike, Route 30 going west. Do you know where Angkor is?
Yeah.
Okay, when you go over, there's a light there and all that. There's a bridge there, like. Okay, there's a light there. You go over that light. If you look to the left, you're going to see maybe 3 or 4 acres of woods or more that are dead. That is a doornail.
And that was from the chemical spill from the record company.
From that record company.
Right. There was a record company up the road and stuff.
So were there safeguards put in place for?
Well, they went out of business.
Out.
They got
They
this.
did.
Now.
But here, you have to remember at the time, you didn't. Oh, your tape ran out.
1 second.
You remember at the time too. I mean, they met whatever OSHA requirements were at the time, but they're not as sophisticated as they were, as they are today.
Yeah.
So basically, people weren't really thinking of emissions and all that kind of stuff back then. It wasn't of the time or the era.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
but
yeah, right, because you met all conditions. We had air conditioning, and you would change your. That's what I said. That's why you had to clean as best you could and what have you. Oh, I think we had one of the cleanest shops in the whole area.
We did.
Or none.
Right.
Her mother-in-law, she was a cleaning fanatic.
Right.
She didn't want no beans.
Right. Right.
Okay, so let's switch over to your mother-in-law.
Right.
So you said she took care of all the paperwork and she took care of the salaries and that type of thing.
Right.
What else? What was her?
What else? If there was anybody missing, if a girl on the line needed a bundle, she'd grab that bundle and bring it over there. If that floor boy didn't come in, she worked that floor.
Right. She worked unbelievably.
Yeah. Made no difference. And make sure that the office got done also.
Right. You remember all the orders coming in from New York.
Yeah.
Everything, the payroll, running of the books, it's all the forecasting, getting orders in, going up to New York. She used to, as a child, I used to go to New York with her because they didn't want her going to New York City by herself. So here I'd be this 10-year-old. So the 10-year-old was supposed to be the security for grandmom in New York City. But yeah, we used to go to New York all the time. And she had to meet with the buyers up there, see what the styles were coming in.
They wanted,
and negotiate price.
Her, and she knew how to put that garment together. She priced those garments out. You go up before the season started, and they would show you this jacket, that jacket, your jacket, and you say, well, this jacket here we can make the way you want it there. The labor will be $5.75. Okay, that would be $6 1/4. And then they would talk about what have you. She said, well, negotiate that price and all. Hey, no, we need that. If we can't get that, then we can't make that jacket for you. And then you would negotiate it out. Then once you got set in that price, you got the season. Now you better make that jacket.
Yeah.
They didn't want no beans.
Right.
So.
Right.
And she did all that there. She priced out.
And I remember sitting in boardrooms like this with her. I was a 10-year-old little kid, and she used to tell me, be quiet. And boy, I learned. I mean, you would see that kind of negotiation back and forth, the price to this, to that. Oh, yeah. She did all that kind of stuff. She did, and like you said, even being on top of everything on the floor, hiring, all the human resources.
Keep track of your shipping, how much you shipped out every night,
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility.
think about all these people are getting paid piecework, so you have to check all that for their payroll and everything. You know, you have time cards, people punched in, they punched out. Was that all right?
Yeah, because being paid piecework, you may have did 50 garments, say there was 100 in the lot. You might have did 30, she might have did 30, that's 60. She should only be left 40 for me. But
if you're counting, and
but
you say
I'm
you did
counting,
more
what
than
I could have put in 50, 55, okay? Well, there's something wrong here. Either you made a mistake counting here or what have you. How come they made 30 and 30? It should only be 40. There's no way you made 50. And you balance out
Think
every.
about it. That's almost 300
Yeah,
employees.
yeah, you would have to balance out every lot, every.
And this is
that lot.
prior to computers.
Yeah.
There's no,
Oh, yeah, that
there's
was-
no Excel spreadsheet, there's no, this is prior to computers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was all done on.
Right, but she was a
paperwork.
really intelligent woman, very, very intelligent woman. She just
kept track of all
figures
that.
in her head. I mean, you could just give her numbers and say.
Now, we had a secretary, or a
Mhm.
bookkeeper that worked in the office also. I mean, there was a lot, you had to check out every lot, and you had to balance them all out and all that. There was a lot of work to be done in that office, but she would come out on the floor, and she would grab a jacket herself and check it out, make sure everything was fine. Or she'd go down the first floor and see what the examiners were doing, and look at a few coats. Whoa, wait, what are you looking at? This isn't right here, okay? And then come back up and what happened.
So before your father-in-law passed away, did he take care of that, or was
Yeah,
was
he
it
was on the
always
floor,
her?
right,
He was,
yeah.
he did like more of the office stuff.
No,
He was a floor, she always was
Yeah,
the
she-
office,
yeah,
so yeah.
she-
That's so
ran the
interesting
whole office.
because you don't usually hear of women in such high positions.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
ran that whole office,
Back in the
made our factory. She negotiated all the prices, all that. Now, my father-in-law did nothing but on the floor,
Floor.
mainly, but believe it or not, the first floor, because he was a
Presser.
presser
Right, he was
and
a
what
presser.
have you.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, and you had to be able to figure out a lot of stuff. In that cutting room, you had to be careful with those patterns. You had to figure out how many plies you needed to get so many coats and what have you. And sometimes it wasn't just an even lay. You lay so many, they wanted so many 14s, so the 14s and 16s would be together. You would have to split that pattern just to get the 14s. So you may have 100 ply for the 14s, and then you had a separate pattern for the 16. Maybe you only needed 50 or whatever. So you had to break that all down.
Right.
And you had to make sure they got ticketed right, that they didn't foul up, or they didn't flip a bundle and ticket from the other side, or, oh yeah, no. You could have a major problem on your hands.
So much goes into it. You
Yeah.
don't think about it.
And the factory always closed down, like back then it wasn't they got 2 weeks vacation a year. It always shut down the week between Christmas and New Year's, and always the first week of 4th of July, whatever 4th of July fell. The
Yeah.
factory was always closed that week and stuff, so that was the workers' vacation. That was always that. And on the 16th of July, you always worked a half a day.
Half a day.
Everybody says
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We-
Half a day.
Half a
This
day,
town, nobody
Oh,
could
yeah.
believe it. That feast
And basically,
day.
you almost had the whole day off, because back then, they used to bring the bands around and
Right.
what have you. So we would only be here till 1 o'clock or so. The bands would come here in the morning, they'd play for the other ladies and this, that, and the other, and they
It was like a
stop.
party day.
Yeah.
You would be,
And,
nothing really, it wasn't,
you didn't
it was
get
a
too
great
much done on
day.
the 16th of July.
Yeah, 16th of July, this
O'clock,
town, it's
everybody
just
went
amazing
home.
to me
Yeah.
now, like,
Back
everything was
then,
shut
yeah.
down by
Oh,
the
yeah.
afternoon. The morning, everybody was just, they were
Yeah.
all the factory
Yeah.
workers, so everybody left then to go to
Yeah.
the feast, and, yeah, it was really great. We used to have the trucks pull up for lunch and the
Oh,
coffee
yeah.
break,
Right, yeah.
so at 10 o'clock was coffee break.
Right, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock with coffee break, and there
Okay.
usually would be trucks outside here, so they could just walk outside and get their coffee, and they had like
Yeah.
danishes and all this kind of stuff.
I've heard about the bell too. At 12 o'clock, a bell rang.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone, that was
Yeah,
lunchtime.
right.
Yep.
You know, it was
And
lunchtime.
everybody was back at 1 o'clock,
And
12 to
then
1.
around 2:30, there was another afternoon break.
Yeah.
So different.
And I remember that because I worked here as a kid. And
Oh, you did?
Older, as a teenager, yeah. Once I got to be old enough, I worked. And my job was always, whoever called out, that was my job of the day. And I used to come in the summertime and be like, all right, who called out? And it wouldn't be so bad if someone I knew, but sometimes I was like learning, like making the buttons. That was hard and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'd be like, oh, I used to go home. But it was really
yeah,
a great
that's their
experience.
skill set. That's
Right.
their.
Yeah.
But I had to learn in a day, and now that has, in my own life and career, that has really served me well, because I had to be very adaptable, learn quickly, and, you know, so whenever I came in, my dad would say, all right, here, and one of the ladies would say, all right, this is what you gotta do today, and I had to learn that job for the day. So mostly it was on the bottom floor. I
Yeah.
examined,
Yeah,
I used to
examine.
press the
The
interfacings,
interfacings on the.
did a few times the buttons.
Yeah.
I never really actually used the machines on the second floor. That I really didn't do any
Yeah,
of the
no,
machines.
that you
Right.
have to.
Turn the collars.
Yeah, turn
some-
collar,
turn
what
collar.
they call, yeah.
Yeah.
Floor work, yeah, turn
The floor
collars,
walls,
turn
yeah.
the sleeves out there and what have you,
Yeah,
yeah.
examine,
The
mostly
girls
examine.
on the sewers on the second floor, it took a little time to get that.
Right, that you
Oh,
weren't gonna
sure,
learn in
yeah.
a day.
You just didn't sit down, the machine
Right.
starts sewing.
Mhm.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But all the floor work kind of things, yeah, for summer, I used to do all that. So, we were always here, we were always kids, you know, even, because down the street was the elementary school. So after school, we used to walk here, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, my dad was here, my grandma was here. We used to run all over this factory. I can still see David almost running around. Remember how the ladies,
Yeah.
I have a younger brother, and he was just adorable. And when he would walk in the factory, all the ladies, oh, little David's here, little David's here, everybody needs little David. And he used to go right, and they all were giving him money and stuff. It's like, he would come up
He'd
rich
go
with it.
around, I got a nail over here on the benches.
Yeah.
He'd come with the hammer, bang.
Aw.
So we kind of, really was a very family feel here. I mean, it was family
Well, they
run.
were
We knew everybody in the
local
factory,
people,
you know,
you got to
so.
know, like I said, Petra still calls him Little Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the ladies, you know, now they're
She-
mostly
she-
elderly.
Hispanic lady, she always calls him Little Dave.
Yeah. Every time she says, "Little David," yeah.
How many of the ladies do you guys still see or keep in touch with?
Well, a lot of them have
Mm,
passed away now that
boy,
they,
yeah,
you know, aged and
moved
passed
in.
away. I mean, if you bang into them,
Yeah.
whatever, but they're so elderly, they're not really out
I
and
don't know
about,
what
you know.
happens is now they're either living with their children or whatever.
Or nursing homes.
Mhm.
There was what, Mary Cat passed away last week.
Right,
She was
so,
last
yeah.
week, Mary
Every once in a
Cat.
while I'll see the obit, oh, she
Obit
worked at
and all,
National
you know.
Garment
Yeah.
Factory.
Now I'm
I
gonna be
wasn't-
looking for
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I wasn't all that old when I was here, and most of them ladies were all older than me.
Right,
And,
Right.
and I'm 78,
right, right.
so you
Right,
know,
that's what I was
those
just
ladies are all
thinking.
into their 80s and then some.
Mhm.
Most of them passed away.
So, yeah.
But yes,
Yeah, the clothing industry is really, well, there's no clothing industry left, and maybe down south, I don't know, but in this area, even in Egg Harbor, there was 3 or 4 shops in Egg Harbor, besides shop. Pembroke was in Egg Harbor, Tony DiPaolo,
Mhm.
he had a big factory in Violin,
Right.
that's all gone. There's only one factory that I know still left, and that's in Violin. Is it Del Rossi? Yeah, Del Rossi. They make uniforms, government.
Military,
Oh.
military uniforms.
They get military. They did that for the past 100 years that I know of as such. But as far as civilian type work and all, I don't think there's one around. And it's a shame, you know.
Yeah.
And who knows if it'll come back or not. Now they tell me now overseas now, they want their pays increased and they want their times off. And Korea at that time, believe it or not, because Sal Marina was telling me from J.C. Penney, they worked a 16-hour shift there in Korea. When that girl got up or lady got up on that machine, after 8 hours, that machine wasn't shut off. The other lady was standing behind her, sat right down in that chair and started right over. Worked the 8 hours.
Right.
They went 16 hours straight.
Right.
But now, even there, those days are done also now, you know, the
Yeah.
time a little different. But back then, they were working a 16-hour day.
No wonder why no one could keep up with it.
Yeah. you
Right,
couldn't-
right,
yeah.
price wise,
Yeah,
you
you just can't,
you couldn't do it
can't
here
do
in the
it.
United
Can't do it.
States, right.
So, but there again, well, with the technology, this, that, their clothing is better. In fact, I'm telling you, 90% of the clothing is still made overseas in the places there, if not even more. It's not around 95%.
Oh, I'm sure all, any
Yeah, there is.
tag I
nothing,
see
yeah.
is made in
It-
China.
Yeah, it's
or
made in China
somewhere.
or whatever, Taiwan, Korea.
Yeah, Taiwan.
Yeah.
Vietnam now.
Mhm.
Yeah, Vietnam, yeah, you know.
Great. Anything else you need from us, or?
I have a lot to work with. I was worried. I was like, oh no, I'm only gonna have an hour, but I think we're
Uh,
good.
well,
Um,
hope we helped you out some.
Yeah, I mean, if I have any other questions.
Yeah,
that I
you could
need
always
to-
email me, and then I could always ask him or whatever, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're just always